tips and potpourri. These are what my curls look like today, and although we're not going to be talking about my curls, for those of you who want to know, these are a combination of the pipe cleaners and the Rapalock tool with a little bit of Lotta Body holding spray or holding lotion. You will see these things just get bigger and bigger and bigger as I go for a tighter curl than I've had ever. But it was really, it was fun doing these because I haven't done the really curly curls in a long time. But it did take it took a lot longer than it normally does. But I'll be interested to see how they look when they are all out. So just so that you all know, I probably used about 70 tools between the Rapalock tools and the pipe cleaners, and Beauty Coliseum, where I get the pipe cleaners from, has been out of them for months. So I'm really missing that. And I'm hoping that soon they will get more in and that this is not going to be an ongoing thing, because I would have liked to have had these even smaller. I really wanted to see how short I could get all of them. But anyway, hopefully you will try some curls too. Because I use a lot of body, I'm hoping that these will last for a much longer time. Alrighty.
Welcome to Tunisia's Locs, Beauty Tips and Potpourri, the channel where we get it all in. You can also learn more about the I Am Melanin Magic brand. Thank you for stopping by.
Okay, so to get back to what the topic is, which has to do with caring for your locks during the summer. As we all know, the weather and the elements that we experience during certain seasons can require us to take a little extra care and do additional things or take certain things out of our routine during the summer months that can sometimes complicate our hair care or cause our hair to react in ways that may not be actually healthy for us. Sisterlocks is really no different. There are a few things that I wanted to talk about that you might want to be mindful of in terms of your hair care during the summer. And for most of us who, when we think of the summer, we think of extra moisture, extra heat. Many of us live in very humid conditions. So we'll start with that first. We'll talk about humidity. Humidity, if you're wearing a typical Sisterlock style, is not going to bother you at all. As I always say with Sisterlocks, you never have a bad hair day. However, if you're wearing curls, such as the curls that I have, the humidity would have the same effect on your curls. Maybe not quite as bad, but it's still going to impact your curls and can cause them to flop just like your hair normally would if you didn't have Sisterlocks. So one of the things you can do to kind of safeguard that if you're wearing a curly style is to give your hair a little bit more time to set in the rods or the rollers or the pipe cleaners, and to also make sure you use some type of setting lotion. The setting lotion, even if you had to spray a little bit of hairspray on your hair prior to setting it on the rollers, after it's of course a little bit damp, it's going to give your hair a little more hold and it's going to help it to stand up a little bit more. You want to avoid being in areas where there's a concentration of moisture, like when you get out of the shower. You want to make sure that you keep your bonnet or your shower cap on your head for at least the duration of time that you're going to remain in the bathroom. Make sure you cut the fan on. The second thing I want to talk about with regard to our hair is oftentimes the excessive heat and sun exposure that our hair can get during the summertime, especially if you spend a lot of time on the beach, if you spend a lot of time outside, if you're very active and you're in a very warm environment, especially one where there's less humidity in the air, such as Arizona, where the climate is very hot and it's very dry and the heat can be very intense. Two things you want to make sure that you're doing. Number one is you want to make sure that you are hydrating. You cannot leave the house without a water bottle or something in your system and in your hand in the terms of water when you live in a climate that's extremely dry. You have to be very hydrated internally. That can help your hair. But the other thing is that you want to make sure that you try to keep your hair as much as possible out of the direct sun if you're going to be outside for extended periods of time. Let's say, for example, you're going to be out doing some, you're going to be at a track meet, or you're going to be at a summer event outside, and the heat is intense and it's really scorching. You don't want that heat to be directly on your hair without some sort of protection. So one thing that you can do is you can have a little bottle of mist, of water mist, and you can spray your hair periodically, although that's going to evaporate very quickly. If you add a little bit of oil to that and you shake it really well, that can help to coat the strands and help the mist to sort of stay on your hair a little bit better. The other thing you might want to do is cover it up. Wear a scarf over your head. You can decorate your hair very nicely with a lot of different scarf styles to keep it covered and protected. You can also wear a hat. And then when the most intense time of the day is past and the heat is not as direct in terms of the sunlight coming down on your head, then you can take the scarf off. But these are just some simple things that you can do to sort of protect your hair. When the summer comes, if you're very, very active, you're going to also notice that you may be sweating a lot, which means your scalp is going to be very moist. And if you're in between retightenings, anywhere after about 3-4 weeks, you're going to notice that the hair in that area is going to expand and it's going to start to tangle. This happens to me a lot too, because I take a lot of baths. And whenever I'm in that bath, I'm in the bath for over an hour. And even though I sometimes a shower cap, I may have a shower cap on, other times I may just pin my hair up, depending upon what I'm dealing with and how much heat is being emitted and whether or not I have the fan on. That excessive moisture causes my new growth to really start to expand. So one of the things you can do to help with that expansion, so that it's not being, so that it doesn't get too tangled, is you can braid your hair. You can plait your hair before you get in. That's going to be very helpful with that. Now, in terms of the moisture that you're going to get in your hair, if you work out a lot and you do a lot of things that require a lot of physical release of energy that cause you to sweat, your scalp is going to be oftentimes very damp. And the best way to deal with that, because it's kind of unavoidable. I used to deal with this when I would get in the saunas a lot, because I love being in the sauna. And sometimes my scalp would be very, 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 very moist. You don't have to do a full wash in these situations. And oftentimes, sometimes doing a wash with chemicals, with shampoo too frequently, can further dry out your hair. So you want to be mindful of that. So what you can do is use a water bottle, mix your hair, okay? You can, or you can wet your hair. You know, take cups of water when you're in the shower and wet your hair, or put your hair back in the shower like this, and then simply move the water around and evenly distribute it in your scalp, and then blot it dry, and then allow your hair to air dry. But the point of the matter is, you don't want excessive sweat to cause you to begin excessively shampooing your hair, because that is not really necessary. You can also use, once your scalp has dried, you can use a nice, very, very light oil and fatty oil and essential oil solution. You can make that at home with some of your favorite oils, or the I Am Melanin Magic Oil brand, the premier spray oil, the one that comes in the spray bottle. And you can get that from the website. It's in the description. You can use that on your hair as well, but you want to use it very sparingly. And first, especially if you're dealing with a lot of sweat, and it's not just, it's more sweat than you would normally have in your hair, then you want to first wet your hair and evenly distribute water in your hair first. Give it a little bit of time to air dry, and then go in with a little bit of the spritz. You want to use it again very sparingly until your hair is fully dry. That brings me to my next point. When you're dealing with the hair care needs during the summer months, something that you're going to come across is washing your hair and its need to dry. Oftentimes, we can wash our hair during the summer months, and when we're washing our hair, whether it's winter or summer, it's important to make sure you give your hair the time it needs to fully dry. Even if you're not doing a full shampoo, let's say, for example, and you're doing a water spritz on your hair for sweat, or you're doing an essential oil spritz or spray or whatever on your hair to help cleanse it, because these oils are antibacterial, antifungal, and antimicrobial, antimicrobial. You want to make sure Even though they are, you want to give them a helping hand. So you want to make sure that you give your hair a chance to air out. Don't have a wet scalp and then keep your hair in a ponytail, or pin it up in a messy bun, or pull it back into a style where your hair is not able to fully dry. You want to be mindful of that, because that is going to cause the fast growth of your hair. You can actually get mildew in your locks. Okay, you can have a fungus to begin to grow on your locks. You can get lock funk or really nasty odor from not allowing your locks to air out. During the summer months, which brings me to my next point, it is very important to allow your hair to breathe, okay? If you're someone that constantly has it pinned up, or you have it in another braided style or something else, it's important to take periods where you allow it to breathe. That is critical, critical, critical. The other last thing I want to talk about that you want to be mindful of with regard to caring for your locks during the summer months is the locks themselves. Some of you may use oil primarily in your scalp, which is what I do these days. On the beginning of my lock journey, I used a lot of oil in my locks. I don't require as much anymore. My hair is growing down very, very healthy from the roots. It's very well conditioned. It's moisturized, but above and beyond that, it's very strong because of the I Am Melanin Magic Oil that I've been using on my hair for so many years. So I don't require as much. During times when I was coloring my hair, I used, and I was a little bit more attentive to the needs of my stresses, because you have excessive drying when you're coloring your hair. But now that I haven't colored my hair for some time and I've allowed the rinse to fully come out, I'm being a little bit more lax, and I can afford to, because I'm not competing with those chemicals that were on my hair to try to keep my hair feeling soft, to keep it moisturized, and to keep it healthy. But what you're going to typically need during the summer months is you'll need a little bit more of your oil. If you're putting an oil on your hair, if you're using the I Am Melanin Magic Oil, you're going to need a little bit more of that on your strands, because your hair is taking a beating from the elements. So you want to be mindful that your tresses are going to have extra needs during the summer months that maybe you don't pay as much attention to during the winter months. Say, for example, if you're working from home and you're in the house and you're not actually out in the elements. Last but not least, and I'm going to add this, is hair color. If you can afford to do your hair coloring towards the latter part of the summer and in the fall, it's going to be a little bit better than going into the summer months when it's really, 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 really hot, and you tend to be more active. And then you may also be doing a lot of extra swimming, which means if you're in the pool, you're dealing with the chlorine, and if you're in the ocean, you're dealing with the salt water. All of those things can be very, very drying on your hair. You want to try to release, or you want to try to limit the toxic load or the environmental load on your hair during the summer months. So my suggestion is, see if you can't color on the off season or color at the end of the summer during the days where the weather and the temperature is a little bit more cooler than it normally is. If you find that you cannot resist, like me, I'm hoping I can make it through the summer, because I miss my reds and I really want auburn all over, bright, deep, burnt orange all over, but I'm trying to resist. But if you absolutely can't resist, use a rinse. If you absolutely don't want to do a rinse, because sometimes it gets messy, and you know, guys, I leave my rinses in for about 40 minutes. I leave it in for an extended period of time, and I already have a little bit of ends that have been lightened from years of coloring in the past. So the rinses tend to take very intensely with my hair. But if a rinse is not going to give you the vibrancy that you want, and you decide you need a color, try to get a product with less peroxide. Really refrain from bleaching altogether if you absolutely can, because the bleaching is going to destroy your locks. And what happens with the coloring, the breakage doesn't always happen right away. It happens over a period of time, and sometimes that period of time can exceed a year or more. It can exceed a year. I don't need or more. It can exceed a year, and you will find that your ends will begin to unravel a little bit more. If you really used very strong products, you're going to find that your locks may actually just break. All right. Oh, shout out to Candy Blackburn, who who we were talking about some of the ills of coloring. She loves the color as well and has colored quite a bit. And you will start to notice oftentimes, because the new hair that's coming in from the root that hasn't been colored is a lot stronger, but the hair will break right there where the older hair has taken the coloring. And you'll start to notice sometimes the locks just break entirely off. And sometimes you'll notice it can be concentrated in the area of your hair that typically receives more stress anyway. So let's say, for example, you pull your hair up a lot and you pull it over to this side. It may be in this area. Let's say you use a lot of, you wear a lot of hats or headbands when you go to the gym, different things like that. You're pulling your hair up a lot to into the middle of your crown, but your edges are being stressed. You're going to lose the hair from there. You'll lose the hair from the area that is the weakest area, the area that is often over processed, and the hair that gets the most manipulation. So you really want to be careful about that. The last thing I'm going to say about the coloring is try to avoid going any more than 3 shades above your natural color if and when possible. If you just can't do that, then focus the color in one area of your hair. Consider possibly doing the spray-on color. Do everything you can to avoid bleach and heavy peroxide solution hair dyes and colors during the summertime. Do all that you can to make your hair journey during the summer a little less stressful for your hair, okay? I hope that you all enjoyed this video. If you have suggestions of other things that you do during the summer to care for your hair, please put it in the comment section. I love you all. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for your support of the I Am Melanin Magic brand. Thank you for loving on me with your comments, with your shares, with your subscribes. So many of you have been with me since the beginning. So many of you reach out to me. So many of you support my work here on YouTube by just constantly showing up in the comments, by giving your likes and your thumbs up, by sharing the videos. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love all of your input. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope that you have a beautiful and are having a beautiful start to your spring and summer, and that you get to enjoy the glory of your beautiful locks, and that you will find ways to bring more color into your life. And if you don't do it with this, maybe you do it with hair accessories, maybe you do it with spray-on colors, maybe you do it with scarves and wraps and other things. But I hope that you really enjoy the abundance of this Sisterlocks journey. Please keep coming back. More will be revealed about our journey and how we move forward towards longevity and embracing this lock journey 100%. Okay, and being active participants in our own rescue. I love you guys. Have a beautiful day.